Good morning, everyone. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, so in this lecture, we are going to discuss the example, the work example for the chapter slide. Okay, then we will discuss about the quiz. All right. So let me just close this. Okay, so this is what you can see on the screen. This is an example of an ER model, ER data model or ER diagram. And we want to add some more semantic information in order to enhance this ER model. All right. There are three options to represent the staff entity. So we are going to focus on staff entity. Okay, in this example, let me just go back here. See, here we have staff. So we're going to focus on staff. So there are three options in order to add more semantic information to staff entity. So staff can be more than one, all right? More than one staff member. Let me see what are these options. Number one, all members of staff will be staff, generalized staff entity. This is number one. Okay. So one. Number two, we can also, so one, generalized entity. Okay. Two, we can also have three distinct entity, like staff. Okay, we have staff, manager, and supervisor. Or we can represent number three, we can represent the manager and supervisor as subclasses. Okay, these are like subclasses for the staff. So we can do it this way. It's so any option will be based on the attributes and relationship between entity types. So these are three options to represent the staff entity. Let's, for example, talk about if all entity will be represented in the manager and supervisor entities. Okay, including the primary key staff number. So let me just show you how it will look like. See, here we have one manager and the other one will be supervisor. Okay, both will have shared attributes with the staff. So this is number one. If we have these attributes, so that there are two subclasses. This is the third option, actually. So this is the third option. We have shared attributes in the staff as a generalized entity type. Okay, and as you can see, there is a triangle shape or an arrow indicating the superclass staff. Then we have two subclasses, manager and supervisor. Okay, there are attributes, specific attributes for manager, for example. So what will be the constraint here will be optional. Optional, why? Because not all member of staff need to be a member of subclass. Not all member of staff or superclass need to be a member of a subclass. So it's optional. And why it's or? Why it's or? because only one subclass, it can be a member of only one subclass, not both. All right, it cannot be a member of staff cannot be supervisor and manager at the same time, right? So that's why we put or. Now, so the manager and supervisor subclasses are created here based on the staff superclass. Now, let's talk about another part of this ER model. Of this example, we have owner here, the relationship owner. We have private owner and business owner. See here, private owner and business owner. So we can enhance this. Actually, we can enhance it to add some more information, like owner as a superclass and private owner and business owner like as subclasses. Okay, so let we see how it will become. So like there are two types of owners, private and business owner. And also we have three options to represent this owners. Like for example, leave it as two distinct entities. We can do it this way. Or we can represent them both of owners as a generalized owner entity and represent them as subclasses of owner superclass, okay, like the previous example. So in this example, we can see that we have created owner as a generalized entity type, like owner superclass. All right, and what comes under this, under owner, there are shared attributes. There is this is the generalization specialization, sorry, specialization generalization shape. Okay, so they can be we have two distinct subclasses. Number one, private owner. Number two, business owner. So the superclass is called owner, and private owner plus business owner are subclasses. Okay, so this is what we have added to the ER model to become an EER model or enhanced ER model. And let's see the constraint here. There is mandatory. Why mandatory? Anyone can tell? And why or? Anyone can explain? Why we restrict it with mandatory and or? Yes, guys, anyone? Anyone has any idea? Member of owner, mandatory, it means what? So the participation, it's either optional or mandatory. Why mandatory? Because it must be a member of a subclasses. Okay, one must be a private or business. It cannot be both. So this is the meaning of mandatory and or. So it must be a private owner or, so any owner, any member of owners superclass must be a member of either private owner or business owner. It cannot be both. That's why we put mandatory and mandatory or. All right. So that's the meaning of this constraints. Guys, focus with me. This is for you. All right. This is for you. Focus, because I noticed in the quiz that you are not aware of many things about ER model, and I have to give you more activities and examples. So in the exam, the midterm exam, you will be able to answer the questions. All right. Otherwise, you will face difficulty to do this. All right. So this is the second example. So we have added owner as a superclass. Then underneath it, we have added two subclasses, private owner and business owner. Also, something we can add is like, sorry about that. We can add also a superclass like person. Okay, we can say there is person, okay, as having common characteristics or shared attributes. Like, for example, member of staff can be person, private owner can be person, clients, all can be person. So we can add this as, see, like person superclass, but this is not applicable, I guess. It's not, it's just an example, okay? You cannot do this for, it depends on the requirements for the ER model. So for example, I can add this person superclass with some shared attributes, number and name. And then I have three subclasses, which are staff, private owner, and client. Maybe this is applicable for small enterprise, okay, which includes only these types of people who are dealing or users for the system. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Staff subclass, private owner subclass, and client subclass. All right, so we have this person as a superclass, and then this shape will indicate the specialization and generalization. There are three subclasses, and under the staff we will have, for example, supervisor and manager. Okay, now why it's mandatory and or here? Why it's mandatory or? Because it's a member of person must be a member of either staff, private owner, or client, not all, right? Not all. So or means it's a member of only one subclass, not all. Mandatory means it must be a member of each of one of these, or not each. Okay. So we can also add more under, for example, this can be changed to owner, and then we can have private owner and business owner. So that's the meaning of having improving or having more semantic information added to the ER model. So, for example, to what extent we need to use specialization generalization to represent branch user views. Okay, so this is the branch user views. This is like, for example, branch user view. And so we can simplify this by choosing A and B. So, for example, this one, this is B, okay, and the first one, the previous one is, and this one, A. All right. So this is A, and that one is B. So this is more applicable to be applied in the branch user view. A, and this is B. All right. Or owner. So we can add staff, manager or supervisor, or we can add owner, private owner, business owner, but not C, not this one. This is C, because it's not applicable to be applied to the branch user view. Okay, it's more common. This is more common. This is not common to be used person and can be categorized to staff, private owner, and client. All right, so this is not recommended to be used as an EER model. So just be careful whenever you are asked to improve an ER model, just try to emphasize on some certain entity types and add some subclasses to them. Right. So again, the decision of having or adding some specialization, generalization um, is optional and subject to um, the requirements of the enterprise or your, for example, the designer decision. So this is what we have got here. We have adding to the staff, converting staff to a superclass, then adding some more subclasses here. We have supervisor and we have manager, and then down there we can add to the owner. We have added owner superclass to property for rent. Then we have two private owner and business owner. Okay, so this is what we got. Here for the ER. We have improved it. We have enhanced by adding these subclasses to certain superclasses. All right, how to represent has a or is part of relationship entity types, like presenting some entity type as a whole and other as a part. Okay, some entity types will be whole and other as a part. This something we call aggregation. If we want to represent an has a or is part of relationship, okay, we can use this shape. See here, the diamond shape on the side of the whole. Okay, so this diamond shape indicates that the aggregation process, and it will be drawn. It will draw it and next to the whole entity type. Okay, so it will represent the whole entity type, and the relationship will be normal, as you know that it can be a line between two entity types. So, for example, branch has staff and offers property for rent. The diamond shape here next to branch in both relationships will represent aggregation, which means it will represent that it will mean that the branch has a staff member or has staff members and offers property for rent. So this will represent branch as a whole entity type and will represent staff plus property for rent as part of. So these two will mean in this relationship, the has a, okay, the aggregation will mean that these entity type are part of, okay, part of branch. All right, got the point? Adding the diamond shape to the main entity type or the superclass here, not superclass, let's say there is no superclass here or subclass. It's just representing the relationship. All right. Sorry. So branch and then diamond before having the line, the relationship line. This means that the branch is the whole entity type, representing a branch as a whole, and all other associated entities are part of that whole. All right. So this is the meaning of aggregation. Aggregation is a process that's representing, yeah, it's like representing the whole entity type along with its parts or all its parts entities. Okay, so aggregation will be represented as an open diamond, not filled, just opened, empty. It means empty. There is another an advanced or specific form of aggregation, which we call composition. Okay, composition, which will represent the strong ownership between the whole and part of. So this will be representing the strong ownership between the whole and the part of, or the part. Okay, and it can be represented with a filled diamond shape. All right. Like, for example, like saying the whole is responsible for the disposition of the parts. It That's why we said it's a strong ownership. Okay, without the whole, there will be no parts. All right, so there is a strong um, ownership. And an object may only be part of one composite at a time, only one. All right, so it will be only one at a time. See here, for example, how we can represent the composition relationship. This is the filled diamond shape, representing the strong ownership between the newspaper and the advert. So without newspaper, there will be no advert. Okay, advertisement, for example. Okay, so newspaper is a whole. This is the whole, which owns what? This part. It owns the advert or advertisement part. This is the part. Why we decide it's strong here? Why we decide it's composition, not aggregation, not just has a relationship, normal relationship between them? Because without newspaper, there will be no advert. So there is a strong ownership between these two entities. Okay, that's the meaning of composition and aggregation. This is how to represent the relationship between these. In the EER model, we can represent some relationship this way, depending on the relationship between entity types, some certain entity types. Some entity types will be whole, represented as a whole, and will be having the diamond shape next to it, okay, next to the relationship. And the part will be all other associated entity types to that relationship. If it is a strong ownership, it will be filled diamond shape. If it is not, it will be just open diamond shape. All right. So the option to use aggregation and composition, again, it will be depending on some subjective decisions. Okay, you don't have to use it unless it is required. Like, for example, between the newspaper and advertisements, there must be a relationship. There must be a strong ownership. There must be composition. All right. Like, for example, having a branch or has staff, or branch offers property for it, there is aggregation, kind of aggregation, representing the branch as a whole entity type and other entity types as part of it. Okay, so it depends on the decision. It depends on how, to what extent we can decide about the types of these relationship between entity types. The more complex the system was, okay, there will be a need of, or it will be essential to add all these semantic information. All right. If just in case you need to emphasize on this special relationship, like has a or part of, then you can use it. Otherwise, you don't have to use every time. You don't have to use aggregation or composition. So that was all for this chapter. Slide. Do you have any question? Do you have any question, guys? Any question? All right.